Hi, today we have Vasundhara Oswal, and she's the director entrepreneur of PRO Industries, and she started her journey just at the age of 26. And I know that she told us like how she decided to be a key player at East Africa's ethanol industry, and she took over the expansion of the group. And she has been recognized as a global youth icon in 2023, Women of the Year by Economic Times. Vasundhara is not just about business, she's about impact. And as the founder of Stop the Bee, she's taking a bold stand against bullying. And Vasundhara, we are really glad that you've taken time for us this International Women's Day to join us on Win Voices, which is our own podcast, which we just launched. And let's dive deep into what really happened at Uganda and your journey from there on. I know I can see you're very strong right now, and we would like to know what's next in your journey. So, if I'm looking at the human side of this storm, your name is suddenly everywhere, attached to something so heavy. What does this moment really feel like for you?
It's one of those things that you never really think can happen to you, and you never really picture it happening to you ever. Um, as to what this current moment feels like, I'm truly thankful that I'm out of that country, that I have my freedom given back to me, and I'm able to do things, I'm able to think, I'm able to have my loved ones around me. So right now, the moment is not so heavy as it was earlier. Right now, it's more about navigating through the corrupt system that is there and about finding justice. So it's about fighting back, really. It took a while for me to get the headspace back. Of course, if you're put through, such an ordeal where there's basically no law being followed and you're just kind of kidnapped from your site and told that you murdered someone that's found alive later on, you really do wonder, if there's anything left in the world, if there's any true kind of justice system that is prevailing in certain countries. But more and more that I look at it, it's about each individual having the capacity to stand for themselves and knowing what's right and what's incorrect in their minds and fighting for those things, you
Yeah.
know?
And what was the hardest moment in this entire journey, the moment that truly tested you? I mean, I can't even really fathom like what you're going through. So, what was this hardest moment, like how you, what you went through, your ordeal, and if you can throw some light on that?
So, on 1st of October, when they came to kind of kidnap me from the site, I was very ill prepared. I didn't know, what the police could do, what they couldn't do. I had no previous criminal knowledge at all. So it took me a while to even digest after what I had gone through that, they were not able to do certain things, or what they did was actually fully illegal. Okay. So 1st of October, when they came to pick me up and they kind of threw me in the car, I was thinking that this whole thing would just end after I give a statement at Interpol, And when I gave that statement, they still didn't release me. They then put me in a cell afterwards. The next day, you're told that you're going to get a police bond. You pay 30,000 USD that they're asking. You give in your passport, and they still don't release you. So it was the most difficult part of this was basically the hope that they were giving and then taking that away in an effort basically to break your spirit completely. And I will always remember that the last day I had thought that I was getting released from the detention. I mean, they had already held me illegally for about 4 days. So the last day, which was on Friday, I had thought that the officer was coming to release me. And instead, when he came, I was told that by him that I would be going to get charged in Luero for kidnap with attempt to murder. And I remember just feeling like the whole thing kind of just dropped. Like my stomach dropped, my mind went blank. I was just like, how how can this be happening? I don't know anything, And when you don't have any family there, you don't have anyone there that that loves you. It becomes very difficult. So that was the hardest moment when I was told I was going to prison, and I was being driven to a magistrate court, and I knew that they didn't have any evidence. They just had a charge sheet. They had just put my name on. They had just slapped those charges on and were just taking me to the lower level court to charge me and basically put me in. So, which now I know is illegal because you can't try a capital offense in a lower level court. But at that time, I didn't know. And I remember it was very difficult because I wasn't able to speak to my parents at all. So when they were driving there, although I tried to get a phone to tell my parents that this is what's happening to me, they just snatched the phone away and they weren't letting me communicate to anyone. So they had no name badges. They were very hostile the whole time. It really felt like um like someone was trying to just completely destroy everything.
Yeah. I can't
And
even.
now we have the evidence that that is what they were trying to do. We have video recordings, we have audio recordings of the investigative officers on my case. So no matter what they want to justify or what they want to say, um, there is no justification.
Yeah. I can't even begin to imagine. I mean, how lonely you must have felt at that point of time and how alone, in a different country and you don't speak the language. And if they're communicating something else which you don't understand and you're just trying to, you know, under, understand from a tonality perspective or body language perspective, what's really going on. and uh, and of course there is the whole weight of perception. People have this whole perception that when you live a life of privilege, everything comes easy. But does the privilege really protect you when the world decides to judge you, when they put you in such conditions? What happens? I mean, you know so I want you to throw some light and also tell us, like, what is this entire experience that changed you the most as a
So,
person?
I don't think privilege has anything to do with it. I don't think that anyone that would be underprivileged would also have the capacity or the ability to go through this ordeal without being broken completely. It essentially is, it has nothing to do with being privileged or underprivileged. It is a loss of your freedom. So when you lose your freedom, you lose your right to movement, you lose your right to think as an independent person, you lose your right to go outside and even set up a small tea stall to be making money. So you lose your entire right to be a human being. You become dehumanized, basically. And to me, that is even worse than, in a way, putting someone to an end. Okay, because you basically ended your spirit while being alive. So there was no amount of privilege or me being underprivileged that could have helped me. I went to a military school for about 4 years as a child as well, which they give you harsh treatment. You're made to wake up at 5 a.m., you're made to go for PT, you're made to do all of those things. But the difference is that you're given your freedom to think as an independent person, and you're given your freedom to speak, you're given your freedom to do certain things as a human. You're not dehumanized. So nothing in the world can prepare you to have everything kind of taken away from you and become, just another yellow suit in a system.
Yeah. Yeah, my heart really goes out. I mean, I can't even imagine. And was there something like your favorite author, a book, a quote, a song, which sort of kept you going through this whole ordeal at that point of time?
So, in the prison, a lot of the prisoners they have, because it's a Christian state, right? So a lot of them have, they have like Sunday gatherings in which there's actually a pastor that comes in and he starts reading to them and they start reciting kind of hymns from the Bible. So I'm not Christian, but the lady that was with me in the prison was, and she used to read stories from the Bible to me, and I really felt like that gave me a lot of positivity and it really kept me going because those stories are about hope and just having faith, and without having faith and having no hope, there's you live in a very, very dark way. So you have to have faith that one day it will be over and you will get out. you don't know when that is, but it will happen.
Yeah. I love that you sort of telling us that. I mean, I truly believe that when you have hope and you can look forward to something. And I mean, of course, your situation was completely different, but in life overall, when people are going through tough circumstances, anything, like maybe it could be a health issue, it could be, someone losing their loved ones. It's about the hope and, like how one will reach the end of the tunnel. You will see the light. Having that faith and that hope is really important. Otherwise, people can get into a very dark space otherwise. So I'm really glad that there was something which kept you positive. And tell us a bit about your story inside the Ugandan prison. You've spoken about the horrific conditions you endured. You've talked about not being given food and water. And I did see some pictures where you showed us that there was not even a washroom available to you. And what was that moment really like? Like I want you to tell everybody about your experience and
Those kind of moments are very, very dark. You kind of feel like your whole world is ending, and you have to sum up enough strength to eat. You have to sum up enough strength to pray. You have to sum up enough strength, to just do the basic things that you take for granted every day, even to sleep. So ideally, it feels like you become like a potato in a way. You're just, sorry to put it this way, but you're just kind of sitting around and you're in a very blank state of mind. You're not functioning properly. Um, you lose a lot of hope and you lose a lot of spirit. And I feel like the prison system, there's a lot of people that have been baselessly incarcerated. Like, for instance, they don't have enough money to pay a lawyer. They don't have enough money to get bail. Their families have just abandoned them, all in all. So, and they're not provided the basic necessities as a human you would need, like, for instance, underwear, socks, a pillow, blankets, toothpaste, toothbrush. They're not provided even the basic things. So it's a very, very sad thing to see. And while I was there, I did try to give, as much as I could. But what's even sadder is that the, the officials in that prison, because it's such a corrupt system, if you don't do it directly or you don't make sure that those things are going to the right people, then they'll never reach them. So they'll just take the things that are meant to be given to those prisoners and will just hoard them for themselves. I remember when I had given, a lot of sugar, potatoes, and rice at one point. I was told that, these guys, like, I had distributed as much as I could to everyone, and then there was more left. So they were going to store it in like a cupboard, in the prison cupboard. And I was told by a few of the girls there, like at night, they had come to speak to me. And I was told that, listen, you did really good for us, and, we love you for it, but that food is never going to reach us. And I was like, what do you mean it's never going to reach you? And then they were like, the warden's going to take all of it. So the prison officials and the warden is going to take, everything. And that just broke my heart because there was nothing that I could do about it, that after you leave, you know? So after I left, I did want to help a lot of them, but I'm just unable to because you have to be on ground for it. Otherwise, there's no way that your help will reach those people. It'll go into the wrong hands.
yeah, this is like how you think it happens in movies, and you can't really imagine that it's going. I mean, some of the things which they actually show in movies could actually be what really happens, because movies are in some way reflection of what really is going on. And you spent like some 90 hours in these dehumanizing conditions. And what did you keep yourself that you have to keep going? Like, what made you strong at that point of time? Like what made you not give up hope?
I used to speak to my parents like about once or twice a day, at least like on everything, and I knew that they were fighting for me. So I knew that I had to keep fighting for myself as well, and I couldn't just um I couldn't just give up, because by giving up, it would be admitting and would be kind of um submitting to uh to a future of being oppressed and that kind of state. So you kind of have to keep drilling it into your brain that you have to keep fighting no matter what happens. So no matter how many hurdles, come your way, you just you have to keep fighting. And luckily for me, I had people that were fighting for me even when I couldn't. And I think that's what kept me going at the end of it.
So I can sort of sum it up like and say that it's to do like you have to keep your mind strong at that point of time. Like now, don't let your spirit be uh, broken, you know. And your family had to give money to the officials so that you could just get some of the basic essentials. And did that make you lose like your faith in justice? Like, you know, like there's no system, you know, just because, you know, people just do it like, you know, and that like did that shatter that moment shatter that faith in the system.
It made me lose faith in the government system, of authority that is displayed, like in that is there in, specifically in police and in Interpol and with these military officers. What is considered as legal or illegal to them just doesn't matter. They just do what they want at the end of the day. And because they're given a position of, let's say, a government authority or a senior level authority, they think that they are beyond the law. And to me, that's not justice. Justice is what's written in the law, by the law, and it's to be followed by everyone, even the people that are enforcing it. For instance, in their constitution, it's illegal to keep people in that detention center past 48 hours. But I was kept there for 90 hours and more. So they don't follow their own constitution. So really, what law? Even with a unconditional court release order, they still didn't want to release me. And this is only because of extortion, because they were looking at making more and more money by causing more and more pain in hopes that my parents would pay more and more. So it was kind of like a hostage situation,
Hmm.
really. And you don't expect it because you don't expect government officials to act this way. You don't expect there to be absolutely no law, like by those in authority, at least. Like if it was some kind of mafia goons, sure, but we're talking about police officers and government officials that should be law abiding, and
Yeah.
they're not.
And just to make some extra money, I mean, they're doing all this like just to extract money, extort, and I know it's so scary. And I mean, I think we've been a bit intense, and I thought we'll also ask you some of the fun things. You know, so if this chapter of your life were a book, what would you call it?
What was the book? Um, I think I would call it Redemption. I sent it as a flip book as well. So it truly made me understand just how lucky I am to have a roof on my head, a pillow to sleep on, and a family that loves me. So the things that you take for granted, like in everyday life, even having the ability to open up your laptop and research something, it made me appreciate those really little things a lot more.
Yeah. And if you could have dinner with three important people, living or historical, and if someone has inspired you, do share those thoughts and why.
Um, I would like to have dinner with anyone that would like to have dinner with me. I think most importantly, it would be to have dinner with my family, because I truly, truly like being in such a situation. I'm sorry, but the only people that I remembered was not my projects, it was not my work, it wasn't anything. It was the people that you love and those that love you. So you don't remember anything else inside.
Yeah, that's a very good thought. And what are you looking forward next in your journey of life? Like, what is 25 year 2025 brings you?
So we're currently, we were going to do an expansion project in Uganda with a second phase over there, but because of this and us seeing how backward the judicial system and the laws are, we are now shifting that project to other EAC countries that are more developed inside having a, better system. And we're, carefully observing this time where we go. So it's a whole relocation for us that we're focused on. And of course, streamlining this plant that we set up because all of this happened during the commissioning of it. So,
And any
which was
yeah, please go on.
No, I'm saying it was really awful. It happened during the commissioning. I remember they were picking up my employees as well. So the police actually started picking up, my HR manager, my admin manager, my security guard. They all just started picking everyone up and detaining them. And then my parents had to pay like, 10,000 per person to get them out. So I remember that this is what they had started doing, while they put me in jail, they had moved on to picking up all the employees and just trying to hamper the whole commissioning and operation of the business as much as they could.
That's so sad. And that's why when you have people like that ruling the country, no one can really. I mean, that's why nothing really sort of moves in those countries, and they'll always be,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely. And it's a call for change. If those countries do want to expand, they want international investors to come in, they want more FDI to come in, then they have to respect their own laws and they have to enforce those laws. Otherwise, no one's going to come. It's just it's not worth putting your life on the line.
yeah. And any last thoughts on this entire experience you'd like to share with our viewers, not just in India, but globally, uh, on your experience, on your ordeal?
I think that if you have freedom, like if you're a free human being, you can do anything that you want to do. It's just your mind that's a barrier, and I think that people have to be a lot more appreciative of the little freedoms that they're given in the day, because you don't really truly realize how valuable those things are till they get taken away from you.
Yeah, yeah. And since we have the International Women's Day this month, and I wanted you to give like an inspiration message to all those women out there. Some could be in a similar situation in some part of the world, or they're facing an equally difficult situation which you've gone through. So, what is that one thing which you can leave a message, which can inspire those women out there who are in not the right circumstances? I would like to say it could be anything for which we want them to emerge stronger. So, any message, any for those women out there?
It would be to never give up and to never lose hope. I think those two things are the biggest things in achieving anything that you want to achieve in life. If you give up, you've already lost. So you need to keep pushing through things.
Nice, nice. So thank you so much, Vasundhara, for joining us today. I mean, your journey is a true example of courage, the inspiration for all the women. And I think you are a true example of how women can rise, lead, turn these challenges and yet come out of these dark phases and look at life with a different lens. And thank you for speaking to the Women Inspiring Network. As you know, Women Inspiring Network is a global platform where we've just done curated discussions with world leaders like Sherry Blair, Minister Smriti Irani, Shobna Kamineni, Mona Patel, and we have a global audience of women leaders where we did our discussions in Davos during the World Economic Forum. And now, of course, this month we've launched our own podcast. For us in June, we will be doing the Cannes Lion, and September is Climate Week. And we would want your voices to be heard by all the global women who are part of our network, who are all watching us. And I think, they all want to send you their best wishes. And thank you for sharing your story and your journey and your ordeal, what you went through, because I think that is going to motivate and inspire people, like how not to give up hope and have faith and just keep fighting and not just give up. So I just thank you
Thank
for
you so much.
joining us.
So thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.